Hi, it's Gadget UK here. Just a quick video on the Nintendo 64 controller. You can see it's one of the original grey controllers. This the thumbstick, which wasn't there, it just wasn't working. It was like really loose. As I've moved it out now, it's like it seems to be free. It's actually moving around a fair bit in there. I don't know whether there's some plastic or something that's melted, or I don't know, it's disintegrated or something. I don't know if you can see there's a bit of that white bit of plastic there. And as I've dismantled the thing, it's just crumbled. It's like, I don't know, it's had something inside there that's either broken down or is a contaminant. I can't really tell at this stage which it is. It's like, I don't know if there's a ball or something, or a plastic component that was in there originally. So, yeah, just to get inside these, I should point out, under the back of the handset here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws, and then there's 2 there that hold the cartridge port, and then you can just get straight inside it. And then underneath of this controller, the thumbstick part here, is just held on with those 2 clips at the top there. I think there's 1 screw holding it in, so it's pretty easy to get out. I'll just investigate a little bit more here, clean this up a little bit, and report back in a minute. Right, just look at the stick and these little sort of pieces of plastic here for the Nintendo 64 controllers. And what you get is, you can see, one piece there goes like that. So I think the neck, if you look at the neck there, the neck is the part that actually makes the contact with that plastic bit, slides up and down there. But there's a gap, you know, maybe, I don't know, 1 millimetre or something, because the plastic's worn away. And it's the same thing with the piece that goes at the top. That top notch there, as you can see, it's just like wobbling all over the place. You know, there's a large piece of this worn down on both sides, so there's a lot of free play. But then I started thinking, well, the easiest way of solving this, I think, is a bit of heat shrink tubing. I can stick a piece on the top like that and melt it, you know, heat it on. Obviously I'll cut it down to the same thickness as that top piece there. But before I do that, I'll do the same on the neck. So I'll cut a sliver that's just thick enough to go on the neck there, slide it over, and then heat shrink, you know, get my solder iron, just very, very carefully melt it or heat it all the way around so it makes a snug fit. So I'm just going to give that a go, and we'll see how well it comes out. I'm going to get some scissors to cut this so I can get it accurate in terms of the size there to make it exactly right. There you go, you can see that now. If I heat that, I'm guessing hopefully it'll shrink enough to make a good tight fit around there, and after a few layers like that, maybe 2 layers or 3 layers, that should be pretty much fixed on that neck part. So there we go, there's the first piece on there, on the neck. I'm guessing that's going to make a significant difference. It feels like it has already actually. That's going to be a really snug fit. Yeah, with a bit of oil on there, that's going to be perfect. Right, so as you can see there, I've put a piece around the top. I put some super glue under that, so I just literally covered that top piece of plastic with super glue and then slipped on the piece of heat shrink that I'd previously shrunk to the exact size. So that should do the trick. I've tested it before I glued it, and one thing I'll have to do is just widen. I think you can see, because now it fits perfectly in the middle there where the plastic is worn away. I'll just need to file down the edge pieces on both sides, you know, the inner side there, the top part, just to make it the same sort of diameter all the way along. I think after I've done that, get a little bit of oil in there, it should be good as new, and hopefully that should last. I can always replace that heat shrink tubing should that wear down again in the past, but I think with a bit of oil on there, I think that should be fine. Okay, so what I've done here, I've just used the actual neck of the iron just to not really melt it, but well, I guess it is melting it. You don't get any fumes or anything off this. It's weird. It just reforms it, and there's nothing apparently sort of coming off it. But I've been able to reform that exactly to the size all the way along of the plastic with the thing on the neck. So there's very little, you know, free movement there for that top piece. So combined with the heat shrink there for the neck piece, this should all work really well now once I get all that back on. So I'll start reassembling and see, give it a go. thought I'd show you. Cleaning the connector up here with a band sandpaper. You get some sandpaper like that, just a little bit on some pliers, and then just push it like that in and out. Saves you taking the whole controller to pieces to get access to it, and it means that you're gonna, should be making a good clean connection there. Obviously you need to blow that out, just make sure you get dust out of it. Just moving on to a second N64 controller here. This was completely dead. Nothing at all. I wiggle around the wire, both ends, because that's the one thing to test on these. And there seems to be some sort of serial, it's a serial type connection if you look. You've just got 3 wires, so I'm guessing there's a ground, perhaps a transmit and a receive, I guess, because it's bidirect. It's got to be bidirectional because you've got feedback here. Well, I say feedback. You've got your memory cards going there, and you've also got your rumble pack. So it's not like some of the really old ones like Mega Drive controllers where they're just unidirectional type things. They are bidirectional. So I guess that's what that is. You've got, like I say, there'll be a common ground, and then there'll be a receive and a transmit. It's powered as well, actually, so it might be that the receive and transmit's on one single, because sometimes they do that, don't they? They put it on the single cable there. It's like multiplexed or something, or some sort of mechanism there to handle transmission either direction, and then a plus and minus. I guess the red might be +5 because this board's got to be powered as well for that chip. But anyway, I checked, like I said, I checked the cable, checked it at both ends, checked it at this end, wiggle it around. I did have to inspect the socket. I wondered if there was perhaps some damage here, some damage perhaps at the cable, and that's still a possibility. But after having taken this to pieces and just testing the D-pad, suddenly it's working. So there's a chance that something else in the way. Sorry, that's the cat. That's the cat. Maybe say that. Yeah, the cat's in the way. There's a chance that something else may have been causing that. Maybe a button stuck down or something. Because these controls can be a bit weird. That I don't know. It might be a case if it does a self-test or something when you first power it up, and if you've got some input on something somewhere that's not supposed to be there. I don't know. It could just be a bit, a bit of dirt or something that's shorting something. Was shorting something out. I don't know. But the bottom line is it's working. So I need to do a bit of testing and experimentation with the cable again just to make sure it's not that. But I've had a good look at the board, visual inspection. You'll notice a few things, and I'll point them out while I'm here. F1, probably a ferrite bead, but it measures as a short. And that's why I say sometimes when you're looking at things like this, you've got to be careful, because whilst you can get these markers that say F1, I'd expect to see FB1 or something like that, really, I think, if that was a ferrite bead. But different manufacturers, do these things different ways. Sometimes they can put, let's say F or FB for a ferrite bead. But typically when you just see an F like on its own like that, it's usually a fuse. But those do measure as complete shorts, and the 3 of them, there's one there, F1. Sorry, this doesn't seem to be focusing very well in the lighting here today. Hopefully it's coming out clearer than it looks on the screen. But yeah, you got F1, F2 and F3. So I did test those because straight away I thought one of those is going to have gone, but they're all okay, and the solder joints are all good on them, so not that. The other thing I did think, with a dead controller like this, obviously something could have gone wrong with that ASIC there, but yeah, the other thing, which I think that is a crystal by the looks of things, and I think the board probably supports that theory, really. And you can see it says CLK clock, so I'm guessing that's what that is. It's a bit of a strange white package there, but I'm guessing that is a crystal. And it's not uncommon for crystals to fail on these sort of things, and I'll tell you why. Because obviously they're made of crystal, and obviously these things get a bit of knocks from time to time. They get dropped on floor. You drop one of these on a hard surface, it's not unheard of for the crystal to shatter or break or split or crack or something inside, and as a result you either get the wrong frequency, the frequency changes, or there's none at all. Most of the time it's actually none at all, but I have seen it where the frequency is actually slightly off, or significantly off, and I think it's usually the crystal that's it's taking a knock. Funnily enough, in old LCD handheld systems, I don't know if you remember them, sort of the 80s, you got a lot of those things where there were games that were manufactured. The catalogue companies often sold them a lot of the time. I can't think of a make. There was like Grandstand. They made quite a few of them, and it was usually a particular game. And the device, the ASIC, had been designed just for that one game, and obviously it was black. The black old sort of segment LCD screens and things. It was branded, for that particular game. I think it was like I remember I had one called Turtles, Ninja Turtles, and all it was a sort of green sort of handheld of about sort of this size with buttons and controls and things. And it had Turtles theme all over it and stuff, and it just played the Turtles, and that was it. And those were notorious for problems with crystals. When you would drop them, the crystal would break, and you'd switch it on, nothing, just completely dead. But the interesting thing with those is they used a watch crystal. It was the same frequency for a lot of those systems. So you could take the crystal out, get an old faulty watch or something, take the crystal off the watch, mount it on the board, switch it on, suddenly it would work again. So that's interesting, useful information. I've yet to see one of the. I've only had a few of these in Nintendo 64 controllers, so I don't know whether they would fail in these or not. But that was one of my thoughts. I thought, okay, I'll have to get the scope onto that. But just having tested it as it is now, like this, is working. So I'm not really sure. So I'm going to clean it all up, reassemble it, and just have a bit of a test and play around with the wire and stuff while it's. Perhaps before I reassemble it, I'll test the wire here, bend it, a little bit and stuff, and see if I can work out what's going on. But I'm putting this one down to dust and stuff and dirt at the moment, I think. Right, so I've just reassembled this. Come to test it, after cleaning it all up and everything, and it's not working again. So I suspect what it is, it's the point where the cable joins here. Even when you move it, you don't get anything. I think I'm just going to disconnect this all now and then just do some continuity checks from those 3 pins to the 3 pins on the thing, just to try and work out if it is the cable, but I'm damn sure it probably is. So I've just got a bit of wire there into the end of the plug there, so I can actually measure for continuity. So that's connected to the black wire. So let's try the middle one. Oh, I lost my bit of wire. It's really long, that fitting. I wouldn't put a short piece of wire in there, you'll probably lose the bloody thing. So I've done the black one, let's try. That's white. Yeah, get something to the red there, but it's the white one that. Let's correct it up. So this one, hopefully, should be the red one. Oh, good grief, sorry, it's not easy to do this. Right, so I've just disconnected this ferrite thing here. I forget the bloody name for it, but yeah, you're just going to prise it apart, and eventually it will come off there, so you can see where the cable's folded. It could even be in here that it's damaged. So I'm just going to disconnect that. And the reason I've done this, well, I can clean it up while I'm there, but it looks like if you push that little plastic piece in there, potentially the sheathing will slip back, so they might be able to get to the exposed wires on the back of this connector. That's my hope anyway. That might not be the case. Yeah, talk about non-user serviceable. I must have spent about an hour trying to get this off. There was that little plastic notch. There's no way, even when you get that notch flat down, as flat as it possibly was, there's no way it's coming off. It was nearly impossible to get that off. It really was. I've had to use all sorts of stuff to try and put masses of pressure on it, and eventually I just had to lever it off. And even when I levered it off, it's taken me 20 minutes to lever the thing off. It's impossible. I removed sort of on the plastic part here, where it was about by the time I got to about down here, all of the plastic casing was all just mangled up. I'd cut it off. It was still stuck on because of these plastic notches here. So yeah, you're never going to get inside one of these. But what I decided to do, I thought, well, actually, if I can get inside there, I can just use some heat shrink tubing. I've got some thick heat shrink tubing. I'll stick a small piece to join where the knot is there, in terms of the grommet, and a thicker piece that'll just snugly fit around that. So it'll be okay. But I'm pretty sure that that's where the break is, because it doesn't look to be down the other end of the cable anyway, that's for sure. Right, well, unexpected turn in events here. The cable has got nothing to do with this. I realised that when the thumbstick was disconnected, it worked. You know, you could navigate, you get some control there on the EverDrive and stuff. As soon as you connect the thumbstick up it stopped working. So I dismantled this is a different thumbstick. This is off my other one. This is the one. This one's a bit glitchy. It's you know, I tried to do some sort of fix work there to try and make this stick a bit better, but it sticks a bit at the bottom there, and you don't get the full downward movement. So when you're playing games like Super Mario, if you try and run towards the camera, he walks towards the camera, even though you're pushing full down. So I've ordered a replacement one of these with the right connector there. You know, it's the proper Nintendo 64 replacement. I think it's a third-party replacement, but it's not for the third-party controller. It's actually for the you know, original controller, because there are two different types. Anyway, so I've got one of those coming anyway, but probably got too many now, because what I've done, I've taken the one out of this, put that in the other controller, and I temporarily put this in here because I knew that this worked, aside from the direction, you know, one direction sticking a little bit, and not travelling, you know, to its full extremity, like I said. So I've tested it in here, it's just the same. Followed the pins. In fact, I went as far as I actually took the little PCB out of the other one as well before I swapped them over, just to measure the photodiodes and I think it's a photodiode in there and a phototransistor or something. And they measured okay. There's a couple of resistors. They measured okay. I followed the pins here where they come onto the board, and they all go up to this chip here. I think it's some of these bottom pins here on this side. There's not much else there really. There's a couple of jumpers. I've checked those. Those are all right. Doesn't appear to be anything visibly wrong, and there's nothing wrong, like I say, with the components of the tracers going to that chip, but it just doesn't work. So it does look like it's a fault with that chip. I'm guessing, I was going to say there must be a DAC type element there, but I don't think there is, because these work off pulses, so it's just digital. You know, you move it one way, as you move it, you know, it moves a little wheel inside, a bit like a mouse. And you know, it breaks the light beam there from the diode to the transistor, and then this interprets those pulses. So there must be something wrong with that chip. It's a bit strange that when it's connected it doesn't work at all, but when it's disconnected it works. Very odd. I might just try. I'll have a closer inspection of this, and I might just try reflowing the bottom of that chip. But I mean, it looks fine. You know, I can't see. You know, if I'm honest, I can't see anything wrong with it. It just doesn't work. It's very odd. The only thing it can be is the internals of that chip. There are a couple of pins at the top there shorter, don't you? You can see them. They were like that from day one, but I'm going to just remove that solder there as well, just to make sure that they're not supposed to be bridged. Yeah, just and retest it, see if that makes a difference. Yep, didn't make a difference. So this one's a beyond for the moment until I get another spare faulty controller or something. Right, well, this is a good example of how you can sidetrack yourself if you're not careful. As you can see on the screen, sorry, I'll show you the cable all the way along, connected up there. Got some heat shrink tube in there. I need to get a bigger piece for that. I haven't got anything thick enough. I'll get something that's about 3/4 of an inch or an inch or something, and shrink that down. But if I use the analog stick, I'll show you here. If I move the analog stick, it's now working. It was a cable fault. I spent a bit of time, you know, testing the cable to start with, and the red wire wasn't going anywhere. And then for some reason, I don't know how, I managed to sidetrack myself and convince myself there was something wrong with the board. But then I started thinking, well, okay, the D-pad's not working. The D-pad was working. It was just the analog stick. And then I don't know why. After I'd given up with this and sort of put this away in storage, thinking, okay, I'll use it for spares, I suddenly came back to the cable. It just sprung back to my mind. I thought, I didn't actually manage to conclusively test the red pin. The red pin was not making connectivity, so I'll give it another go. And lo and behold, I couldn't get connectivity at all. I chopped it at this end inside the case, still, and then tested obviously from the cable to the connector, still nothing. So ultimately, I did have to do the work I did here to you know, chop this off. The damage was somewhere here. So I've chopped, you know, I even chopped the curl bit off here as well, because it loops around that ferrite bead thing. So yeah, chopped it off let's say, put a bit of heat shrink there, heat shrink around the individual wires, and then a single piece of heat shrink across all three, and into the thing there. And like I say, I will need a piece of heat shrink to go over there, so that's going to be interesting. I might have to take the ferrite bead off again. I might even need to desolder it inside here in order to slide the heat shrink tubing down there. But yeah, really pleased with that, because like I say, it's now working. And what I did do is I took the stick out of this, because the stick was better, and put it into my grey controller over there. And that's great, because that controller's now perfect. But obviously this one's got a glitchy thumbstick where it sticks on the down and you've not got the whole movement there. As I say, on this particular game, Super Mario, when you run towards the camera, he doesn't run, he walks, whereas he runs the distance, so he runs to the left, runs to the right, but he walks towards the camera, because you haven't got the full travel there. And I've done some work on that, but to be honest, the fitting's so worn on it, it's absolutely shot. As I mentioned earlier, I've got a replacement stick coming for this, so I'll stick that in there and that should be good as new. So really pleased with that. It's in good condition, there's not really any marks or anything on it. Anyway, I thought you'd find that interesting. Thanks for watching, I'll see you soon.